ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Iona Center to celebrate the reaffirming the resolution that was just passed in the city of Warren by the City Council, reaffirming the American core values of freedom, equality, and justice. We're delighted that you are here and you can make it, and you were able to make it. Before we begin the program, let me first greet you. Islam's universal greeting, the greeting of peace. It's the same greeting all prophets greeted their people, and we greet you with the same greeting, Assalamu alaikum in Arabic, or peace be with you. That's what it translates to. So may God's peace and blessings be with you, and let us start in the name of God, the most compassionate, the ever merciful. Again, we're delighted that you are here joining us in this very special occasion. And I say it is a very special occasion. Indeed, it is a very special occasion, not only for me, myself, and my community, but for all of us here, for the clergy, for my friends and colleagues who worked so hard over the years, the past few years, for the interfaith leaders, for the city mayor and city council, and everyone who had something to do with this, whether directly or indirectly. This is really a milestone the way we see it here in the city of Warren. And this whole thing really happened, if I may share with you my bittersweet experience, if you will, in the city of Warren. We came in here a few years back in 2005 hoping to acquire this building and turn it into a worship place for the Muslim community that existed here, believe it or not, maybe some of you don't know, for 20 or 30 years. Muslims have lived here in the city of Warren for 20 and some of them for 30 years, but didn't have a place to worship. So we started the process. Everything went okay until we were met with a stumbling hurdle, if you will, by the Planning Commission in the city of Warren. And to my surprise, after we passed all the legal, actually the Zoning Board of Appeals, all of the legalities, what we had to do, they passed it, they voted it on it, and everything went okay. We had to make a deal that we don't announce the call to prayer outside with loudspeakers. We weren't intending to begin with, but we made an agreement with them later to find out, when I thought everything was going to go smooth and get the permit to begin building this center, to find out that we were opposed like tooth and nail by some of the community members and also by some of city officials, which to me it was really a surprise, a big surprise. I did not anticipate. Some of the clergy here were at the meetings and they can attest to what went on in these meetings. Nevertheless, I left the place after they voted us down, heartbroken and didn't know what to do. The very next day, I received a call from the Department of Justice, Jane Taylor, the legal department in D.C. And they knew about the discrimination, if you will, that occurred, because we have met every law, everything, and everything was all right. And they said to me, she said to me, in those words, if you would like us, we would investigate and sue on your behalf. I said, no, I'm not going to take that route. If I need you, I'll call you back. And then I got a call from the mediation department, the Department of Justice in the city, in Chicago, and then they tried to work something out between us and the city. Now, I knew things will be okay, but how to go about that, I didn't know. The media, on the other hand, of course, media would love news like that, so they contact me immediately. And of course, they ran the stories in the Detroit News, in the Free Press, and what have you. And then the media person himself asked me, what are you going to do about this? Are you going to sue them? They've caused you psychological damage and this and that. I said, no, I'm not going to sue them. We're going to work it out. There's another way to solve this issue. And thank God for our teachings, religious teachings, that teach us to repel evil with good. You repel evil with good. And those are the teachings that our faith teach us. So I decided that there is another route and we can get our goals achieved without having to go into litigations or anything of that sort. Well, thank God, first of all, that on my right I had the Department of Justice and on my left I had the media to support us in this project, but I was seeking neither, actually. I was seeking people who understood the city of Warren, who were from Warren, so we can work together and see what we can do. The interfaith, wonderful interfaith leaders came to bat for us and tried to help us get the whatever permission needed to go on with our house of worship and build this center here. Among them, of course, is Reverend Roger Fascioni, whom he entered into a room that was filled with dozens and dozens of people who stood against us when I saw this man coming with his attire, just what he is wearing now, and speaking very passionately for us, and I was wondering who that man was. Now, I knew some of the interfaith leaders that came and worked with us from the NWCJ, MRDI today, the NWCJ then, Sharon Buttrey, among others, but I didn't know Reverend Roger Fascioni. And then I get to know our Father Gary Schulte, who came also and batted for us. And from that moment on, we established a really good relationship, the three of us. Eventually, they passed under pressure, if I may say that, because when we went for the second time for the Planning Commission meeting, it was, of course, a lot of people there. It was very heated discussion going on between the planning commissioners, myself and our attorney, and the people in the audience. And when they voted, it came to be a tie. And at that time, something happened at that time that I don't think ever happened in the City of Warren Planning Commission meetings. They immediately, after a few minutes under pressure, I think, I'm not sure, because the Department of Justice, I believe, was watching. And they decided to make an exception to the rule. The rule is you will table that meeting till next month and they will revisit the issue. But they took a 10-minute, 15-minute intermission and they came back to us and said that we will amend the application for you, we'll increase the bond and do this and do that, and we'll re-vote it. And luckily, thank God, they re-voted it to our advantage, 5-3, and thus it was really a good day to celebrate for us, the Muslim community here, to begin the work. Now, the work has not really ended to me. Although we got the permission and we wanted to have our center and we started the actual construction, however, I know that there were a lot of broken hearts out there from their own point of view, if you will. I immediately arranged a meeting with the Barbara Salos. Maybe some of you know who Barbara Salos is. She is a wonderful lady that headed the Warren Home Association for a long time. And she gathered about 90 residents. And I sent our then public relations person, Mr. Harry Bissell, and met with them. And at the end of the meeting, they all came out happy, don't have any fear about Muslims. He asked everyone, you guys like to have a place like that here? Everyone said yes, but one. When he was asked, why are you opposing? He says, someone has to be different. That's exactly the response. So to me, what that told me is fear built on ignorance is the greatest enemy to anyone. And that was exactly the problem in the city of Warren. That fear was built up on total ignorance. To fix that, I decided that we need to work in the city of Warren to change this mentality in the city of Warren. God, thank God, enabled me to reconnect with Reverend Fascioni and Father Gary Schulte. And later I learned that, well, his church had similar problems and other churches had similar problems, and we said enough is enough, we have to do something about it. So we started meeting and talking about how are we going to go about changing this mentality in the city of Warren and come together and live like a really true happy family. So we started meeting often. We had a symposium in which Reverend Fascioni, Reverend Buttrey, she was part of the planning initially, Father Gary Schulte, Dawood Walid from CARE, and we put up a symposium. This symposium, maybe some of you were present at that time. It was a wonderful time to come to the stage in the city of Warren, in the community center, and Father Gary, myself, Dawood, and Reverend Buttrey all spoke on how important it is to be diversified and to have, you know, all of us living together as one community, and it was a wonderful program. Then I get to meet Reverend Kuru. He came on crutches that day, if I recall correctly. And then later on, we established good relationship with Reverend Kuru. As a matter of fact, the first time I really saw him and was impressed with him was at the Martin Luther King event, who spoke very passionately about social justice, and I asked my colleagues that we should bring in Reverend Kuru to our discussions, and among the four of us, we should be able to pull something together. And indeed, after months of talking and trying to resolve this issue that is very central to the city of Warren, we decided that we need to at least have a document that all four of us, first of all, agree on, and then bring that document to the clergy, because the clergy have the largest audience. If we can sell that to the clergy audience, then we would move further and further. And that's exactly what happened. Reverend Kuru authored the first, what we call, Interfaith Covenant for Freedom, Equality, and Justice. And then we massaged it a little. We presented it to the interfaith leadership in the city of Warren. They all embraced it. They were all excited. We were very excited. We started our first interfaith Thanksgiving celebration 3 years ago on the basis of that interfaith covenant. So it was wonderful. We all enjoyed it, and we could see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you know what I mean. We then tried to expand beyond that and go to reach out to the school district, because we understand if you want to make a change, the change will have to come from the grassroots, from our youth. So going to the school district was crucial. So we started meeting with superintendents in the city of Warren, and things went okay until we reached, again, a stumbling block. And then we said, okay, we're going to take it to the mayor, see if the mayor will endorse it, and take it from there. By then, the Interfaith Covenant we changed it to sell it to the school district from Interfaith Covenant to a community covenant, because an Interfaith Covenant has a religious connotation. And, you know, schools have nothing to do with religion, if you know what I mean. So we had to change it, keep the gist of it. The message is still there. However, just change few wordings to make it palatable to, if you will, the seculars, which is okay, because those principles of freedom, equality, and justice are principles and values that everyone should cherish and hold to heart and uphold them and fight for them. They don't belong to any faith, they don't belong to any race, they don't belong to any ethnic background. So that was our next step. So from Interfaith Covenant to Community Covenant for Freedom, Equality, and Justice. And then we presented it to the mayor. The mayor was very excited. He welcomed it with open heart and open arms. And we started having meetings to see if we could have a symposium where we involve everybody, business, school districts, police, fire, all departments. At that time, the mayor was really very busy, and all of his resources were exhausted with the problems we had in the city, the economic problems, and so we could not pursue the symposium. Then we reached out to Dr. Jacobs, the president of Macomb Community College. He liked it, he loved it, he was in favor of it. However, he could not embrace it either because of the overwhelming work that was on his shoulders. So then we decided that, okay, the best thing to do is to have the mayor help us out, since he endorsed it and liked it, to go ahead and present it to the city council and pass it as a resolution. Because if it passes as a resolution, it will enable us as activists to go out and promote it. And indeed, the mayor agreed to that with few tweaks here and there, and we submitted to the city council. The first time was in March, I believe, of this year. And thanks to Councilman Stevens, who nitpicked it and says, well, Centerline and this and that, and we don't represent them, we need to change it. We thank him for that, because at that time it went to David Richards, the then city attorney, and he massaged whatever needed to be massaged to put it in the legal wording so that it becomes a legal document, and mayor endorsed it. The council people looked at it and they voted it on June, 22nd, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 2010. I was there at the meeting. I was there at both meetings. Now, after they voted us down the first meeting, when I left, I had, actually before that, before I went there, I had made a vow to God. I said, oh God, let this pass and I will make an offering. I will slaughter a lamb in your name. We'll enjoy its meat. It's here today. And it didn't pass the first time, but I didn't give up. I kept on praying, and we kept working and did what we had to do. And finally, God responded by having the council adopt this great resolution that we think it's a great milestone for the city of Warren for all time to come, provided that we promote it, we embrace it, and we move forward with it. And I think we're all here to celebrate this great occasion. Agree with me that this is what is needed here in the city of Warren. We then talked about having this celebration. We need to celebrate this occasion. And I had ordered the lamb. Someone slaughtered it on my behalf. I could not slaughter a lamb. And the lamb is here. We're going to have a great feast, God willing. So we thank you all for all of your support. This is in a nutshell how it all came about. Without all of your support here in this room and others who could not attend, we would not be celebrating such great values of freedom, equality, and justice. So thank you again for coming. I really appreciate all what you're doing to the city of Warren and to our generations to come. And for right now, I would like to call on Reverend Fascioni, Father Gary Schulte, and Reverend Kuru to come here next to me. If you will just speak a couple of words from your experiences, because these are the men who were really behind this great work that enabled us to be here together celebrating this great occasion. Ditto. You got to say something. I'm here.
Well, we can stand here with you if you'd like, but you were doing a good job.
I was nervous.
Yeah. Just want to really thank the mayor and the city council, because it's not easy for publicly elected officials to step up and pass resolutions like this resolution for freedom, equality, and justice, even though it does speak to our core values and is a part of who we are in this country. But nonetheless, it takes courage and it takes determination and strength of character, really. And I think it's great for our young people that you have done that, because it also sends that message that Warren and our community is a community of hope, a community for the future, a community where all people are welcome. And that is a tremendous message for the future. So thank you.
When does a Catholic priest only say a few words?
Don't make it a sermon.
When he's very hungry. When he's very hungry. By way of analogy, we have the sun and we have the planets. Now, who gravitates around what? Does the sun gravitate around us, or do we gravitate around the sun? We gravitate around the sun, and we stay in sync. Well, that's what I think our core values are. That's what every American revolves and gravitates around. And you've got to make sure they're always in sync, or you can throw the whole system out of whack. Now, does the sun shine every day? No. Sometimes it's cloudy and you don't see it, but it's still there, and you wait for it to shine. Well, those are our core values. I want to thank the mayor and the council. You're keeping us all in sync by this resolution, making sure even if it gets cloudy, we know the sun is still there, and the sun will come out and shine again. I also think that's the way we work here in the city of Warren, that we all gravitate around the common good, don't we? Now, we can have different beliefs, which we can respect and tolerate, but they are different. But we all gravitate around the common good, whether we're city, politician, whatever, citizen, we all gravitate around the common good. So when I heard of the situation with the Cultural Center, I said, now is it for the common good of Warren to have them here, or the common good not to have them here? And the answer obviously is what? It's to the common good to have them here. Now, I've been a resident in Warren over 20 years, so I've worked with Muslims for over 20 years. I was surprised that people in Warren didn't even know they were here for 20 or 30 years, like this was all new. Well, we work for the common good. Now, Susan can also help me. The Chaldeans were looking for an anchor here in Warren because they live within our community. A lot of people don't know that, but they do. And they have a large population in Troy, Sterling Heights, and now in Warren. They needed an anchor, so what did we do, Sue? We brought them into St. Sylvester's. Now, is that for the common good or not? I always judge by the common good. It's always to the common good to have them here. So I want to thank you. Keep your eye on the sun, the core values, and always make your decisions on the common good. What's best for us all? Not just a little element over here or in the corner. What's best for all of us? And out of that, we can celebrate.
Thank you, Father.
Good evening, everyone. I, too, very much want to thank the mayor. In fact, I want to share something, and in fact, I'm going to pass it out. Hold this for just a second. After the resolution was passed, one of the things that the four of us, the clergy that's been supportive of this, everybody that's been behind this knows, the resolution is the beginning, not the end. We feel that this is a beginning step for the city of Warren, for us that love this community, that love this county, to try to push an area that has often been painted in a negative light as being exclusive or unwelcoming, to turn the page to a bright future of welcoming and inclusive. And Mayor Fouts, when we met with him after the resolution was passed and talked about the next steps, he said, I want to see every municipality in this region adopt a resolution. And he sent out a letter. He doesn't know that I was going to share this, so hopefully he's not going to be upset about this. But he said, I want to send out a letter to all the municipalities and asked for me to write a letter on behalf of ICRJ encouraging other communities. And this is a document that I received from while on vacation, so it was a nice thing to come back to, from the city of Utica passing the resolution. Many of us are aware of the events in East Point with the ugly mailing. East Point's been talking about this as well. And so we just hope that a region that is known nationally as the most segregated in America can come together in unity, and perhaps this start here in Warren, the third largest city in Michigan, can be at the forefront of trying to push people together. So again, I want to thank the mayor, but again, it takes the council as well, and the council stepped up to the plate. And Imam didn't share this, but it was unanimous, and that needs to be, spoken with clarity. Unanimously, the city of Warren has said we're going to move forward as an open and inclusive, welcoming community. inclusive community. I'm going to talk a little bit later about, after we eat or during we eat, about the summer camp that we had, which was another step in our efforts to try to kind of bring this to a younger age and to promote the resolution. So thank you very much, and I appreciate all of you for being here.
Thank you, Reverend Kuro. As the verse goes, the one I shared with you, I didn't finish it. I just told you that it says, repel evil with good, but it starts out with, good and evil are not equal. Repel evil with good, lest those whom you have enmity with become your best friends. And I think we've made great friends by going the right route, by repelling evil with good. And this should be our intention when we move forward in solving our problems, whether it is family or community. And right now I would like to ask the mayor to give us a couple of words before we bless the food and start celebrating.
Thank you. Amen. I'm obviously honored to be here, even if I'm not. I hook that up. I think everybody's going to get nervous if they see you've hooked the microphone on me. That kind of thing. I'm dangerous with a mic and in a crowd of people. First of all, I'd like to say I'm honored that you invited me to this important meeting. And I can't say that really this resolution certainly was passed by my fellow council members, so without them we wouldn't be talking about the resolution. But indeed, Father Schulte and Reverend Facione and Reverend Kuro have given painstaking amount of time to make sure that this was passed. Now, I didn't know I was going to speak, so I was jotting down some crib sheets here that I can talk about. But first of all, I want to emphasize, and I think everybody knows, but I believe since this administration has taken place, Warren is living up to the phrase of we are an inclusive city, not an exclusive city. And I believe that, somehow they wanted to disagree with me there, I think that action is more powerful than words. I can give you a lot of words and I can talk about what we're going to do and what we hope to do, but I think action is more important. And the fact of the matter is that we have a very powerful tool in the city of Warren that I think helps to make inclusiveness important and helps to honor and generate diversity, and diversity is a key word. And that is the CPC, the Church Police City Partnership. And we meet on a regular basis, I think it's every 2 months or so, and we meet with a wide variety of people, including the Imam, and we have Buddhists there, and Roman Catholics, and Baptists, and African American Baptists, and Caucasian Baptists, and Lutherans, and you name it. And we talk about a number of problems that are common to us. Now, this is a really little-known fact in the area, but I think through the intermixing of people, regardless of race, creed, or color, we're able to find an understanding that would not always be there. And you know, one thing a former mentor of mine said, Bert Donlin, who was really a guy that I consider to be a great mentor, he said, you know, Jim, people can only hate you if they can't get to know you. Now, maybe in my case that's not true, I don't know, but I find that if you get to know people, and people to people are very powerful. It's hard to hate somebody who's sitting next door to you. It's hard to hate somebody who you've talked with, and so I think that's important. Now, another important theme that I think we're all talking about today, and I tore out the resolution I was going to talk about that. You see in the back is all the fellow council members. Maybe that's appropriate. But it really boils down to one key thing, and that's the Constitution. Core democratic values are nothing but what we believe, what's part of our Constitution. Sue Catula, you're a school board member, and I might add the first Chaldean to be in the school board, and you know that core democratic values is important. It's important in American government. It's sometimes, I think, so important that we don't do anything else except study for core values. So this is nothing shocking. This is nothing new that we ask the council to adopt. This is our basic belief system and what we as Americans are all about. And I also have to work in my favorite president, Harry Truman, whom I greatly admire and who I feel has never really gotten a lot of credit for affirmative action, for diversity, and for a lot of other things. I dare say, had it not been for the brave, courageous action that Truman took a half a century ago, Barack Obama might not be president today. And that is that Truman made the fateful decision to integrate the U.S. Armed Forces when clearly during World War II you had a black division and a white division, and basically, although we were fighting against Nazism, which preached racism, our actions weren't what our words should have been. And Harry Truman was approached by a Southern woman. She was very unhappy with him, and she said, "Mr. Truman, how can you do this to us, to the South?" And as you know, the South ended up walking out. And Truman said, "Madam, there's something more important than the South. There's the Constitution. And whether you like it or not, I took an oath when I became President of the United States to uphold the Constitution. And that's what I'm going to do." And I think that when I became mayor, I took an oath to uphold the Charter and the Constitution. And that's by far more important than individual beliefs and individual views. So I like to think that had it not been for Harry Truman, this country would be different. We wouldn't have had a Colin Powell, and we probably would not have had a President Barack Obama. Now, I've got to temper all of my beliefs by a few sobering things. Number one, Imam El-Turk came to me and he said, "Would you be willing to put a Ramadan display up?" And I said, "Fine, I'll be glad to." And honestly, I didn't think there would be any problem with it. And I put it up, and boy, did I get the emails. And I looked on the Macomb Daily blog, and boy, were there blogs there. So although we can celebrate and commemorate this resolution, actions are more important than words. The resolution is our core value, but we still have a job to do because the comments that I saw in the Macomb Daily were not very friendly. I mean, frankly, and there was even some letters to the editor which people had the misunderstanding that the mayor favors the Ramadan, but he won't allow the nativity scene to go up. And some of you may or may not have viewed the letter that I wrote, but I felt I had to write a letter because already I was being portrayed, believe it or not, as being pro-Muslim but anti-Christian, which was not the case. And there were letters. One person from St. Clair Shores wrote, "Well, that's fine that the mayor's putting up a Ramadan display, but why wouldn't he fight to keep our nativity scene up on Mound Road, which I had nothing to do with, and why isn't the nativity scene in Warren, which it is?" Now, I used the nativity scene to make a point to a number of people, and I had people who were angry and said, "How could you do this? How could you put a Muslim display up in the city of Warren after what's going on in New York and what they did to us in 9/11 and all that?" And I said, number one, I had the nativity scene up because I had a group called Americans United Against Separation of Church and State. I'm rephrasing that wrongly, but at any rate, it was a group that objected to the nativity scene going up. And I said, look, this city is inclusive. We're not going to discriminate against any church. So just as the nativity scene is allowed to go up, we're going to allow any other church or religious belief, regardless of what it is. And I told that woman, I said, "Do you like the nativity scene going up?" She said, "Yes, I like it being on display in the city of Warren." I said, "Well then, how can I allow a nativity scene to go up in the city hall and not allow a Ramadan display?" I said, "I have to represent all of the people and all of the religious beliefs. And if you cherish your nativity scene, which represents Christmas, then I hope you will understand and cherish Ramadan, which is a major holiday for Muslims." And afterwards she said, well, I do appreciate that. Thank you. So I had to really field a number of hostile calls from people about this, but ultimately I told them the story about Harry Truman, and I told them the story about the nativity scene, and I said, I'm here to represent all of the people, not just some of the people, as Harry Truman said 50 years ago. So, and I couldn't get to all of them because I looked in the Macomb Daily blog and, oh my gosh, they called me Barack Obama Fouts, which I thought was a compliment, but I don't think it was meant that way. And somebody wrote that I'm publicity hungry and I'll do anything I can, including putting a Ramadan display up just so I can get publicity, which reminds me of a thing called the Warren Forum, but I won't get into that. It's an anti-Fouts blog that if I burp, they're complaining about it on there. But nonetheless, I think we were able to weather the storm, but the cause goes on. And I repeat that again. The cause goes on. This is not going to be solved overnight. Now, I want to go back to actions speak louder than words. I have appointed the first African American Fire Commissioner, Skip McAdams, who's doing an outstanding job. And he has the patience of Job because he has to get up in front of the council, and some people really are pretty demeaning to him. But I admire him that he stands up straight and he tells it like it is, and he's doing a great job. I've appointed 3 African Americans to the Planning Commission, 2 currently serve on there. I have my public service director, Richard Saba, is Lebanese, and I have another person who's a department head who's also an Arab American, and I just hired a new secretary. Her name is Amanda Mika, and she is Chaldean. So I hope this continues. I think that my actions as a mayor have to speak louder than whatever words I give, because everybody can talk the talk, but it's walking the walk is important. I also want to say that I appreciated the opportunity this summer to speak to the LLC camp, which is Listen, Live, and Learn, and I spoke to a variety of youngsters who had some good questions for me, African Americans, Chaldean Americans, Muslim Americans, Hispanic Americans, and a wide variety. And I think that's the key. And Sue, as a member of the school board, I think the school system is very powerful because I think kind of a percept is a product. How we perceive things is how we ultimately decide on things. And the school is a key vehicle toward eliminating the misunderstandings that exist. And by the way, I have to just give credit for one person who I think has been very courageous, and that is Mayor Mike Bloomberg of New York City. If he runs for president, I'm going to vote for him, and I'm going to vote for him because he is a principled leader. I don't know if you remember the difference between what Mayor Bloomberg said and even what Barack Obama said. Barack Obama ended up saying about the mosque that he said, well, I didn't comment on the wisdom of the decision. And I thought that was a little bit of backsliding. And Bloomberg, who is Jewish, in case you don't know that, said, I strongly support the mosque going up there, and I will defend it. And he has been straightforward and principled about what is the right thing to do, and I applaud him. And I read in the New York Times today that he's considering running for president. And if he does, I would certainly consider voting for him because I think at this point, principle ultimately makes the difference between whether we're going to be a diverse American, whether we're going to honor diversity, and whether we're going to respect and honor each other or not. It will be left up to ultimately that concept of actions are stronger than words. And as Harry Truman said, I follow the Constitution, and the Constitution is more important than any single individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and I have to thank you personally, actually, for the courageous article, actually, that you wrote in Macomb Daily just recently, defending and informing the public where you stand on this issue of diversity and these core values. And we do want to thank you on behalf of the community for allowing us to display Ramadan in the City Hall. We got lots of good feedback from the community. You may have heard some negatives, but we did hear some really positive comments from non-Muslims who have, we happened to ask, and they happened to come and share with us how great it is to learn about something that they had no idea about. So we thank you so much for your courageous efforts to put up a fight, not a physical fight, but a fight of words. And you're doing it greatly. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we thank the council one more time for their courageous effort to really step up to those core values. Without them, I don't know how we would proceed, but this is a great moment, and this is a perfect time for all of us here to proceed, particularly with the school district, and God willing, this will be our next effort. And the mission goes on, the cause goes on, as the mayor says, and we will defend those values to the core, God willing. With this, later on, if you would like right now, I would like the mayor to sign this resolution. I have the pen there, and the council members who are present, if they can sign next to him. We really appreciate this. This is indeed, for all of us, is a historic moment, and hopefully our children and grandchildren will look at that sometime and say, whoa, I didn't know Warren was like that, and they had to do that. I'm happy that we are all living like one family. We didn't have to go through that. So this is really a wonderful moment for all of us here, and it is a cause to celebrate. So let us celebrate this great occasion. Before we eat, if I may make a prayer. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the ever merciful, an offering was made in your name, O Allah, God Almighty, the most wise, the all-knowing, the all-seeing, and the all-powerful, to celebrate the passing of the resolution reaffirming the American core values of freedom, equality, and justice. We ask you to accept of us the offering and to continue to bless us so we may continue treading the path of the prophets who called people to goodness and righteousness and worked tirelessly to establish justice among people, to find peace and harmony among themselves. O God, allow us to see the truth as truth, and grant us the strength to follow and abide by it, and allow us to see falsehood as falsehood, and grant us the strength to remain away from it. We praise you, we thank you, and we love you, and in your name we eat and drink. We ask you to bless our food and make us celebrate this feast for the first of us and the last of us. Provide us our sustenance, for you are the best providers. Amen. Please proceed.